Our guest today is a lawyer, she's a print journalist, and she's a self-published author. She has played a very big role in inspiring self-published authors, me included. She's also played a very big role in changing the way our bookshops look at self-published authors. 9 books later, she doesn't look like she's about to stop. This is Author's Feet, a literary program focusing on contemporary authors. We follow their journeys and hope to get inspired as we get entertained. Welcome, Joan Thatiah.
Thank you.
Karibu sana. This
me.
is Author's Feet. How are you?
Good.
Yeah?
Good.
Thank you for coming. First things first, what are you reading at the moment?
I'm reading a bunch of things. Reading a bunch of things, but the new book I'm reading, what is new on my desk is Bury Me Come Sunday Afternoon. It's a collection of short stories by a Nigerian author called Nike Fatoki.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Do you prefer, is it, you say it's Nigerian?
Mm-hmm.
I'm wondering, do you have a genre you prefer? Do you have like, you prefer African authors, or do you just go for anything?
I have a bias for Black writers.
Mm-hmm.
I started as a challenge in 2019. I said this year I'm only going to read Black authors, and I did, and I loved it. Mm-hmm. And I sort of can't go back.
So we are doing well.
Yes.
African?
Yes, African.
Yeah?
Yes.
That is awesome.
Yeah.
Right, let's get right into it. Joan, you've been an awesome inspiration. And I might tell our viewers this and they might not believe, but I published before you did.
Yes.
We met when we were both working for The Nation newspapers. I remember you asking me a few things about publishing. And then I'm over here 4 books later. And Joan, you are 9 books later. And I'm wondering, how did you get that? Where is the energy? How have you managed to achieve that?
I never even got to say thank you.
You're welcome.
You handheld me through my first book, but it's sometimes there's no inspiration and all that. So I set out to do a book a year. So I did that. Okay, last year I did 2, but I set out to do that. So I sort of a project every year. I'm going to do this, however I'm feeling, whatever happens. So here we are. It's been 8 years.
8 years and 9 books later.
Yes.
So it's 1 point something books a year.
Yeah.
How do you do that? What's your writing schedule?
I write every day. Mm-hmm. I take a break, I think 3 months after every publication, but I write every day otherwise. So I'll get it done. I'll get it done. I set a timeline. I write every morning. I'm a morning person. So at 6 a.m. every day I'm writing. Right
here we have 2 copies. There's a Confessions of Nairobi Women. They've got Confession. Let me have this so I can show my camera. You've got Confessions of Nairobi Women, Confessions of Nairobi Men. So Joan, I struggle with your genre because I can't think of it as fiction. How would you describe it?
I like to call it life writing, but it's creative nonfiction. But it was a spillover. They say you start with what you know. So when I did my first book, Things I Will Tell My Daughter, it was sort of a spillover from the features I was doing at Saturday Nation, which was talking to women about their lives and about their... When you sit down with a woman, you know this. It's never just what you want to talk about for the day. It will spill over to something else. Mm-hmm. So at the point, I was feeling like I had a lot of information. I was 25. So I have all this information that I can't put in the newspaper. So it was sort of a platform for me to share the things that I had learned about womanhood. And from there, it just got
triggered
alive.
That first one, Things I Will Tell My Daughter? Why Things I Will Tell My Daughter? Why did you write a letter to girls? Because I'd say it's a letter to our babies.
I was feeling like the position I was at, I had privilege. I was learning all these lessons that I felt my peers probably didn't have access to because they didn't have access to all these people I was meeting. So it was me not being selfish.
Thank you for that.
Yeah.
The reception was amazing. Take me through the journey of how you managed to do so well with that first book and the consequent book.
So publishing, initially I thought, I romanticized it in my head. I thought I would be this writer, and then that is the only thing I would do. And then people would come looking for my books and, all that. So then I wrote. That was easy. I'm a writer, so that was the easy part. So I was done. Then I went to the traditional publishers. That was my first stop. And I remember the first one really liked the book, but they said they wanted me to change it. Like, you can't say this word. You can't say, they wanted to change the whole book. And I was thinking, if it's supposed to sound like me, then I need to say it how I want to say it. There's what I want to say, and then there's how I want to say it. So then I settled for self-publishing, and it's capital intensive. I used all my savings to do my first 1,000 copies. So I had to sell them, and I went to the first bookshop, and they look at you, so who are you? And they don't tell you no, they tell you we are not even taking Kenyan books.
That is what they say.
It's the beginning of the year, they tell you we've taken books for the year.
You've got a list of
come
excuses,
next year.
By the way.
Yeah, come next year. So I had all that, and I had my 1,000 copies in my house. So I thought, why not try the streets? People buy newspapers from the street. So it was just a wild idea. And initially, I didn't even sell the books in the streets. I actually went and gave them. You put it here, then if somebody buys, give me a call. Yeah, that's actually how we started. Yeah, because they wouldn't buy it either.
Yeah.
We don't know you.
They've never done this before. Did they tell you they've never done this before?
Yes, they hadn't. And the few the book vendors that were selling books had like international bestsellers. I remember one guy at Kenya Cinema telling me, Abu, look, unaona bestsellers hapa hakuna, like we don't even do Kenyan books, we just and I'm asking him, so how do books become bestsellers if you're not selling them, but they agreed to display for me, and from there it was,
people bought.
Yes.
When did it hit you that you were onto something?
When the bookshop started calling. It took maybe 6 months, but it was 6 months of my books being on the streets every day.
Yeah.
Then people are afraid to buy books in the streets, so they would go to the bookshop and start asking. Because when the bookshop started asking, it was in a very rushed manner, like, bring it today. Can we have the books today? Because we've had 5 people come by and ask about them. Yeah.
How did that make you feel when they started calling you?
It was overwhelming.
Did you not think of being petty and say, nah?
I remember a guy I asked, but he just told me, you're not taking Kenyan books. Yes. But anyway, like I was, I tried to be professional at that point. Yeah. But it was overwhelming.
Where do you think you've sold your books most? On the streets or in the bookshop?
Ultimately, the bookshops, because they have the most of them, like my biggest stockist has like 12 bookshops, and they are everywhere, because I just did Nairobi. But when I started, I was doing 47 vendors.
Right.
But it's a lot to keep up
with. A lot.
Yeah, because it's a lot of people.
But they still did sell. Like on average, would you say like maybe a month through the vendors, you would sell about how many books on average?
Because each vendor would sell maybe 10 books a week.
That is awesome.
It was a lot.
That is awesome.
It was a lot. Yeah. Initially, actually, the first 4-5 years, it was the vendors. But the last 3-4 years, it has been the bookshops.
That's because now you've become sort of mainstream, and you don't have to... Is there another avenue you've used to get to the top?
I would say maybe also watch your writing. So I start from the title personally. I do my titles first, then I write a book for it. And number 2, I would
start with the title.
Yes.
That's a new one.
Yeah.
I finish books and I have no idea what the title will be.
No, when I'm starting my book, I know exactly what it will be. Like the title, I might fine tune it, but it's I start with the title. Number 2 has to be the look of the book.
Right.
So a book needs to be visible. Like, it's not just... So I've seen a lot of authors, they want what they want. And I also wanted what I wanted initially. But now I work with bookshops. So I'll go to Nuria and I'll ask Abdullahi, like, what do you think? And we've been able to... I'll go to the streets and I ask the vendor, because my designer will do a bunch of covers. And I go and ask the booksellers. So if we were to sell these books, which book do you think somebody will pick first? And we narrow down to one. So it's not the cover I want. It's the cover that will sell. So the packaging for me is intentional. Not for me.
No.
If it were me, none of these books would look like this. But
I work with inspiration. Now I'm thinking, because I design my books
for
I know.
yourself.
Yeah, I'm like, this is the one I want.
Yeah, so
But they're
I
actually
work
really
with
good,
the,
all of them. I haven't seen any that is, they're very striking. They say,
yeah.
look at me, look at me.
So I've worked with the booksellers to come up with the look for the book, and they will guide you. They'll tell you, no, this one no, this one yes, because of ABCD. So I stopped wanting what I wanted, and I went to the people that would help me sell the books. So I would say that has also worked. And number 3, distribution. So there's marketing. Distribution is something else. You could market your book every day on social media, but then people don't have it. So I make sure that I'm in as many places as in the smaller bookshops, out of town, Kampala, Kigali.
Do you
So
have
that,
like people you talk to in these bookshops?
yes. So
How did you get to know them?
I've done, usually I just went personally. Like I'll walk in.
Yeah.
I'll go to Kampala and ask which the biggest bookshop is,
Yeah.
and I'll walk in
Yeah.
and I'll show them my book. So that my network, I created, now it's growing by itself through word of mouth,
Yeah.
but I create the initial one I created personally. And people, most of the time people say yes, because
Okay.
yeah.
So what you don't have is fear factor.
Yes.
Because I think most authors, what they have is the fear of rejection.
Yeah, we all have that, the
Yeah.
imposter syndrome. You're wondering, yeah, I had that initially.
Yeah.
Somebody would call trying to buy my book, and I'm thinking, are you sure?
Are you
Are you
sure?
sure you want to pay to buy?
Yeah,
Yeah, but
yeah.
I mean, you're trying to sell, so you have
Right.
to overcome that.
Okay.
And if somebody
You're one of the
says
few
no,
people I know who are both good authors and good marketers. And do you have someone who helps you, or is this like a one-man?
it's been a one woman show.
One-woman
mostly.
show.
Yeah, I wouldn't say like I've enlisted the help of a professional marketer, but you'll try and see what works. Try
Yeah,
this, try
yeah,
that.
yeah.
But distribution is important.
It's
I think it's
important.
half the job. People will see your book on social media,
Right.
but they need to see it in a bookshop. For them, a lot of people are not also on social media.
That is true.
Yeah.
Actually, the majority of people are not on social
Yeah,
media.
so where else do they see it? Where else might they be able to pick it up?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. Joanne, you're a lawyer. Have you ever practiced law?
No.
What happened?
It's interesting.
Tell us what happened.
I wanted to be a lawyer so I could write about it. I wanted to be John
Are you
Grisham.
serious?
Interesting, yeah.
You know, before you answer me that question, you are the third lawyer I know who's become a prominent author. There's, of course, our very own Tony Smita.
Yeah.
There's Gachiengo Gitao, who is now on to his third book. And then there's you. And then the three of you are actually such good writers. I'm wondering, do you become, now that you say you've never practiced law, maybe this is not a daily question, but I kept thinking, is it like an escape, writing, an escape from all these lawyer things that are really nasty? How does that work? Is there a correlation?
No, and maybe yes, because the law is interesting to
Right.
study, but
Yeah.
I don't think I ever saw myself practicing the law. I wanted to be a writer, but I didn't know anybody that made money being a writer. So I wanted to be a lawyer.
If you want to be a writer, you'd go for journalism.
No, I wanted to be a writer, but I thought if I become a journalist, then I'll be able to make enough money so I can retire and become a writer. That's what I thought.
That was your retirement plan.
Yes. But then I actually, now when I started writing, by the time I graduated, then I realized I could actually just make money being a writer.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So how did that work? How did you make your first step?
I just graduated and just immediately went to the newsroom, like months later. And I loved it there. So.
You loved it.
Yeah.
You have, I love the way it's coming out that you just want something and you go for it. There's something interesting you've written about you. You're a girl who just
decided to go for it.
Decided to go for it. And clearly you've gone for it. And my God, I know where I stand, my dear. How did we get to Guilty? Guilty is Joanne's first fiction work, which is book number
5.
Book number 5.
It was actually the first book I ever wrote.
Oh,
on this earth. Okay, it was the second. The first one was handwritten in high school. Anyway, that's what I wanted to do. So I wrote that in 2014. But I could not sell it for the love of me.
So this book was published in 2014?
In 2020.
2020.
So when I wrote it, I tried the traditional publishing, but the publisher that was willing to try it
Yeah.
told me that they had a list of books that they'd already scheduled for the next like 3 years. So he's telling me, okay, then you can wait for like 2019 uko. So I just let it go. I actually just shelved it and did things I will tell my daughter,
Yeah.
which I knew I could sell. I didn't know how to sell fiction
Yeah.
at that time. So I entered it in a writing competition in 2019.
Yes, yes.
And I got a publishing deal
Yes.
off of it. So I didn't publish that.
So this is your first work that you didn't publish?
Yeah, it's the only traditionally published by Kuramu Publishers in Lagos.
They're in Lagos.
Yeah.
Okay, and you shortlisted. You were first runner.
First runner-up, so I got the publishing deal.
Hey, congratulations! So what's next? Is it more fiction or more? What do you call it?
Life writing,
Life
creative
writing.
non-fiction. I think it comes more easily to me. Also, fiction takes time because it took me 18 months to write that book, just to write my first draft. 18 months of writing every day. So that's probably the retirement plan.
So we are getting more.
Yes,
more of this.
Definitely. Yeah.
Like this year or next year?
This year I'm doing book number 10.
Book number 10.
Yeah.
Okay. Thanks for the pressure, Joan.
months.
Thank you very much. Which one would you say is your best selling?
Okay, naturally now it's the Confessions series, but before that it was the Things I Will Tell My Daughter.
The very first
Yeah,
one.
my very first book. It just kept giving. Yeah, but now the Confessions, it's been a bit of madness the last 4 months since I did the Confessions of Nairobi Men.
Would you do another one?
I'm doing book 2.
Oh, you're doing book 2 of Confessions?
Yes.
It's there's that many stories.
Yeah.
Okay. How do you wind down?
I would say alone time. I'm a bit of an introvert. So when I'm out there a lot, I need time to... So alone time?
You just sit?
Yeah.
With a glass of wine or with nothing?
Yes.
Okay, thank goodness. I was just thinking you just sit in the dark and do nothing. When you see yourself like this, the way you are, all the things you've been able to achieve, what if somebody came to you and asked you what advice you'd give? What would you tell them?
Oh, that's an interesting question because I've found that what works for you might not work for me. So I would tell them, if you get an idea, pursue it in the moment. I found the more I've sat with something, the more I find fault in it, the more I may not be able to, I may give it up. Do it. Just do it. The worst thing that will happen is that it won't work. You'll know it didn't work. So do it and find what works. Like if it's marketing, keep trying different things, because I've had people reach out and I've told them what I did and it didn't work for them and they are not happy. Try different things. Something will give.
Yes, something will give somewhere. Okay. What would you say authoring? Would you say it's opened for you that being a print journalist didn't open? Are there any doors?
I think financial independence.
Yeah,
because now I'm full-time.
I was going to ask you, are you
authoring.
Like officially retired, Kabisa, from
I don't
any formal
think
job?
I'll go back to journalism. No, I'm writing full-time.
Now you're writing full-time?
Yeah.
How many hours do you write in a day?
If it's daily, maybe 3, sometimes longer when I'm especially actively writing a book.
Right.
I'll write morning and evening, but usually maybe 3 hours in the morning.
I think after this interview, I'm going to rush home and sit and write. There's a book that needs to be out in August, and I'm still here procrastinating. I am a master procrastinator. But you're just really inspirational, Joanne. I have to keep saying that. And I'm hoping a lot of our new writers will see this and feel inspired. The encouragement is awesome. There's an influx of self-published authors when we started, when you started, when I started, we were like only a handful of us. What do you think? Have you checked out their jobs? What do you think is happening? Do you like it? Do you worry?
It's great that there are that many, but also I feel like we have a lot that don't want to be taught. Like I know what
Yeah.
I'm doing. I don't need advice. And what I've learned with me, like to put together a product, you need. We have writers who think they can write their own books.
Yeah.
Use AI to edit. Use AI to do a book cover by themselves in their house, and use their social media to sell. And I don't think that's going to work. Like you need to involve booksellers, you need to involve the experts. Like there are people who went to school to learn
How to
what
help
you're
you.
trying to do. Yeah, just like use the experts, learn, be open to learning. We have a lot of good manuscripts with titles that don't quite, and if you just asked someone else, even peer reviews,
Yeah.
what do you think of this title? And
Especially
they
the
would,
peer reviews
yeah,
is what we need, yeah.
just get your target audience, somebody that you might want to buy your book and ask. So I would say we have a lot of good books that probably are not packaged properly, so that maybe are not moving because of that. But it's great that we have so many.
It's great. I think it's
Yeah.
great, but like you say, I'd call it maybe teething problems. There are things that will go wrong, but eventually we'll get it right. But because of that, a lot of these self-publishing going on, we've got the traditional publishers getting a bit jittery, and they are reaching out to people, which I think is actually awesome. They are reaching out to self-published authors. Have you had any offers, and would you
I've had.
go for it?
I just got offers, but not from here, from a publisher in London, and I
Yeah.
think I'll go for it. Yeah.
That is awesome.
Yeah, but to buy rights to
Yeah.
what I already have written. Yeah, but locally I don't think, because already I have my distribution channel. I
Yeah.
have, so I don't think there would be much value other than maybe just a stamp.
And prizes, oh, that doesn't really bother you?
No.
Because you can't really, you could win with this, you can't win with this.
No, I don't. I'm not trying to pursue that.
Right.
At the moment, I'm fine. I'm fine.
You're good.
Yeah.
Okay. I feel like I could ask you so much, but the one thing I'll ask you to do is, because this is the one book I haven't read, pick a passage.
This book is heavy.
It is heavy. Hit us with it.
It's heavy.
Pick a passage and read for us.
Okay, let's see. The first story. This is how the book starts, and trigger warning. The day I found my wife Grace hanging from the rafters of the house we were building in Sokimau by her neck, it looked staged. First, I noticed her yellow platform heels neatly arranged in one corner of the room. Her white sweater was carefully folded and placed on the floor beside them. Months earlier, she'd taken up a crocheting hobby, and this sweater was the first thing she'd completed crocheting. She was so proud of herself. The way her body hung looked unnatural. As I walked towards her, I half expected her to jump down and announce that it was a prank. When I got close enough, I saw saliva dribbling from one corner of her mouth. Directly below her suspended feet lay a plastic stool that looked like it had been knocked over. My stomach formed in a tight knot. Her feet picked from underneath the baggy mom jeans I had watched her slide on many times. I touched her toes. They felt stiff, cold, and delicate, like a chocolate bar in the fridge.
Okay, thank you for the trigger warning. Now you know what you're going to get. It's real stuff.
Keep writing, even if you haven't figured it out, because I've seen a lot of people don't want to write until they know the avenue that they're going to publish it or sell it. Even if you don't know yet what it is or where you're going to put it, create your art. Then you'll figure that out later.
Thank you. Thank you so much for this. That was a nice compact piece of overwhelming advice and inspiration as usual. Well, like all good things, this program has come to an end. We hope you enjoyed watching it as much as we enjoyed making it. Thank you to Cheche Bookshop and Cafe for the studio space. Thank you to the amazing crew of Author's Feet. And thank you so much to you, the viewer, for remembering to subscribe, to watch, and to share. Until next time, bye-bye.